Hey, hey, Blue Table fans! Oh, and a flood of relief goes over the entire world. At last he's back. Alright guys, Sean here, and I have 3 new books. Alright, so first off, the book that I'm going to be reviewing is Destruction Battle Tome, or Ironjawz, excuse me. And that's Age of Sigmar, which, by the way, I love and predict is going to be one of the greatest games of all time. And when I say game, I mean more than just the rule set. Like the whole thing, the experience, the models. Oh, the models, fantastic. I have my Grand Alliance Destruction book. In fact, I'll probably not give this its own video. I'll just do it as a PS to this one. So if I don't run out of room. And Death from the Skies. That would be the way to go, guys. So first off, before I launch into this, the date is May 11th, 2016, and I have a special going at Blue Table Painting. It's for what's called a wholesale account, and it is the best deal we offer. I'm going to put a link in the liner notes. Check it out. It's not going to last long. I only offer a few every year. I've probably completed, well, not probably, I'm going to say between 10 and 20 of these. It's quite a bit, quite a few of them. Okay, so let's take a look at the Ironjawz here, shall we? So I'm just going to move to the side and whip through this book. So you've got the little, first off, you've got the little blurb for Age of Sigmar that explains the world, which is really cool. It's kind of this planescape thing, and they've really sort of ripped the heart out of Warhammer. So, like the whole feel of it. Warhammer Fantasy really had sort of a real English Lord of the Rings type of sense to it. But now it's modernized, and I really like the feel of it and what they're doing with it. So Ironjawz are just a clan of what are called Orruks, or what you're familiar with as orcs. And first off, this book is lavishly illustrated. In fact, there's a lot of these types of pictures, which every single one of them would be worthy of cover art or a poster. They're really amazing, and they have this flavor text on here that's very easy to digest. So if you just went through the book and you just read this, you would kind of have the idea of what their deal is. Okay, so it talks about Gork and Mork, and this is just old GW ideas kind of rehashed out. The Bestial Realm. Okay, let's keep going. There was something in here that just really humored me. Wow, I'm going to actually show you every single page. So another battle page, another battle page. Then you've got kind of the history thing, because it's been like unending ages. Now what I like is they're doing these Forge World quality scenery to them. And one thing I like, it was actually, I think, Confrontation, the company Rackham that put out the game Confrontation, that started making these photorealistic sets and doing them extremely well. And Games Workshop's picked that up. I like that they include the bases in them, because a lot of times when you see these, they've taken off the bases and they try and make it like completely detached from the game. So this sort of grounds it into, hey, this is a game, actually. So let's see. Oh yeah, here's my favorite. Like most Orruks, they don't bother with pointless things like poetry, personal hygiene, or numbers above 5. And so these guys have their unique spin in the form of what are called fists. So everything in these guys' world is based on sort of this idea of 5. And hold on, let's see if, oh, hopefully I didn't pass it. Oh, I did. Why am I like that? Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Wow, it was close. It was like the next page. So it's the idea of, so like there's a palm and then there's 5 fingers, and then a bunch of fists, they form sort of like a unit of 5 thing. And that's because they have 5 fingers on their hands. And so, hold on, let me just see if I can find the thing again. So they get confused. Like if the war boss has like a missing finger, he starts to like reorganize everything according to how many fingers. And if the war boss like loses his hand, he's like, okay, I can't like. He like kind of loses track of things. So now the most talented generals. The most talented generals are like, oh, they put up the, and then there's in the background there's rumors of these mysterious barefooted orcs that can somehow organize things on an even larger scale. So that really cracked me up reading the book. So let's keep going. And I have to say, these guys really appeal to me. And you know I don't like orcs because I have had a bad experience, but I would definitely do an army of these guys. So of course they give you a painting guide, which is pretty cool. Personally, what I would like to do, I think it's a shame to let all of this, let's see if I can find a good picture of them, all of this metal go unpainted like metal. Because all the color schemes have like paint, like the metal's been painted. And personally, I'd like to do like really dark metal with just like rust, like it's just and like make it kind of grungy, and then chip up the edges so where they've been, where there's like kind of a bright edge when it's just been worn down in battle. That would look great. Okay, so anyway, so you've got color schemes and this thing. All right, so they give history. Again, any of these pages would be worthy of cover art. Like there's so much art in this book. It's probably got like 40 pieces of this lavish art in it. And what I like is that they've included the other races quite a bit. So you have like undead in here, which I think is called like the ghoul courts or something. Here you've got the dwarfs, which is they've really redone sort of the idea of the slayers. And then they just keep going. So here's another of this photorealistic pictures. Another one, just because, okay, let's have this giant spread of that. Wait a minute, is that a repeat? No, it kind of is. Take a closer picture of that guy. So it's pretty cool. Let's keep going. You guys see some Seraphon in there. Here's a blue armor. That actually is really quite handsome. All right, I've got to finish this up. So the classic heavy metal section, which gives you lots of ideas for color schemes and stuff. The WOG. Here you've got, again, it cycles through, and you've got different races in here. There's undead again. Hold on, am I showing you this? Actually, again, lizard men, or what are called Seraphon now, and. And then they give scenarios, which I'd be excited to play. And what's unusual is I thought this was a board and this is like the deployment zone, but if you look at the numbers on this, it's like 24 inches here. So it couldn't be 6 feet this way. I think this is literally the shape of the board is in this cross here. All right, I'm back. All right, let's keep going. So you got a couple scenarios, which I would love to play. And these are a little War Machine-esque, if you ask me. In fact, the feel of the game really is, it really is more like a skirmish game. But it plays in large battles really well. It's one thing I love about Age of Sigmar. I mean, and this game is getting a pounding in the press right now. But you know what? Don't worry about that. Try it yourself. See if you like it. And I think you might be pleasantly surprised. Also, I believe it's the people that are playing the game that really make it. Are you having fun with the people that are your wargaming buddies? Oh, look at this! Here's purple guys. Ha! That looks terrible. But purple and green can work. So anyway, all right. Now we're on to the army list, and quite frankly, there's not much in here. But I want to give you my initial impressions and some suggestions. So you've got a named character, Gordrak, and he figures into the lore. After that, there's no named characters, which I like. So you have a Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. This is one of the new kits that they put out for these guys. What I like about this is it has the feel of the orcs, and it also gives the feel of a, hold on, why does it say move asterisk? I can do this. Oh, fly. Okay, great. Yeah, I have no idea what that means. All right, well, let's keep going. So, yeah, it has a feel. It gives the idea that it's not actually whipping around the battlefield. This is something that's going to be crawling along, or it's going to be taking short hops, and it definitely lends to the feel of the army. So you have a Mega Boss, a War Chanter, and a Shaman. Now, in Age of Sigmar, especially as we enter into a phase where they're going to be doing points values for these guys, you've got to look at the synergy that any particular piece gives to your army. So what I noticed about the Orruks is that all of their abilities are based on, they get stronger the closer they are together. So how these guys are going to play is they're going to move around in one unstoppable sort of massed horde. These guys don't break off from the main group and act independently, typically, because they get stronger and stronger the more guys are closer. And they're based on units of 5. So you'll have like a leader and 4 guys, or just 5 guys. So you have Orruk Brutes, this is the main thing. And you may notice they have a claw here, which is quite frankly reminiscent of a power claw. And really, if I were to level sort of a criticism, I'd say, you know, they really had a chance to break away. And they broke away in different subtle ways. They, with the format, the feel of it, also the shapes, they made things bigger and more impressive, but that you would need less of them, which I think is a great move. But, you know, looking at it, I'm looking at a unit of orcs in 40K with a power claw, is what I'm looking at. So, okay. Anyway, these guys are pretty cool. This is a new unit. In fact, everything in here except for the Ard Boys, which are based on the old Black Orcs kit. And by the way, great kit. I'm so glad they kept it, and I'm glad they included it in here. So the Gore Gruntas are like a little bit like the old Boar Boys, but these models are huge. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say these are 50mm bases, and these guys are going to have the same bulk as like a Space Marine Dreadnought. I mean, huge. And if you look at the detail on them, so much detail. Something I've been observing for years, because of course Blue Table Painting does painting of figurines a little like commercially, so I have to look at this very like really parse it out, and I call it complexity creep, where the models keep getting more and more complex, and that makes them look better, but they're also longer to paint. I first noticed this with Empire, that the old Empire soldiers were pretty simple. They were a little bit of a challenge because they had all the ruffles and stuff, but the guys started having like little scrolls, letters from home, a dead pigeon, their lunch, giant feathers everywhere, multiple feathers, quills in their hat. It's like, guess what, guys? That all has to be painted. And it took a lot of the models, most of the models from like earlier editions in like the 90s, and then going up to you know, most recent editions, they're time and a half the time and effort to paint them. So there you go. But I think these guys, I love the move they've made with this army, because orcs, and by the way, I'm going to be doing a 40K how to build an orcs army thing soon on request. And it's like they're one of the most investing armies to do, but also the easiest to paint. So great for beginners because they're easy to paint up. Same thing here, but guess what? Low model count. They've got the model count of Grey Knights with the ease of painting of the orcs. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And yeah, all that metal, all the fur, all the skin just makes them eat. And that it's all very weathered. So that makes for something very easy to paint. All right, last thing is you have Battalions, which is like the formations in 40K. So you have a brute fist, you know, a lot of these are also based on the idea of setting up close to other units. Except this is the one that I wanted to mention, a gore fist, which is the gore gruntas or boars, these giant boar creatures. 3 to 5 units of those. And what they did, because as I was reading this, I'm like, oh, too bad they didn't make a hero, you know, on these guys. Like there wasn't a war scroll for that. But they found this great backdoor way to do it without complicating things, that if you take this formation where there's 3, well, one of the guy gets nominated as a leader and he gets a better stat line. And these guys get what is the equivalent of the old scouting move. Scouting move? No, there was a name for it. Where they get to like move up. And so those guys, the boar guys, actually are the ones that I see as where you would want them to act independently, like troubleshooters. And you definitely have guys taking different roles in this, because these guys don't have, there's no ranged attack. Well, yeah, that's right. There's no ranged attack. I don't think there's ranged attacks. Oh, your artillery is the weird boys. And that's the comment I was going to make. Oh, a weird knob shaman. Excuse me. And he basically, I'm reading, I'm like, oh, this guy just kills things. So this is your mobile artillery right there. So that's my view on Battlefield Ironjawz. And incidentally, there's different alliances. And I don't know how that plays in the game. Can you literally like have allies? Is that what that means? So I think you have destruction, death, chaos, and order. And those all sound bad except maybe order. But that would be certainly consistent with the background. Now, I might do a whole thing on Battletome or Grand Alliance Destruction, but I'm just going to add it as a PS to this one, just in case I don't ever talk about it. So if you're getting into Age of Sigmar, first off, I think it's an amazing game to enter the world through. Because it's the low model count, and it's easy to learn the rules. And so if they can now then take that and make it appealing to competitive players, oh man, that's unstoppable. I mean, that's just great. So anyway, and if you go to the GW site, you start looking through, it's like, whoa, the world really has blown up. There's all this stuff that's discontinued. New things are reorganized with names like, I don't remember that. I actually haven't even updated my pricing sheet. Well, the pricing sheets will still work, but they're in the old format for Warhammer Fantasy, blue table painting pricing sheets. And those are, by the way, those are copyrighted, and we put a lot of man hours into those. Oh my, hundreds of man hours into making them, maintaining them, and it's a great tool. So what you do, you email me at projects@bluetablepainting.com and you say, I need a pricing sheet for this army. Please don't say, I just need a pricing sheet, because I won't. Okay, for what? And like, no kidding, I have like 200 of them. And so you just type in the quantities of what you want, and it pops up. It tells you how much would be to assemble, how much to paint. You can send your models assembled if you want. There's not a problem with that. Okay, Grand Alliance Destruction. So I'm just gonna rip through this. So it's War Scrolls. It just jumps right in. There's no background. This is just the army list basically. So what you have is you've got the Orruks. And so you can put in some really cool stuff there. Bone Splitters, Savage Orc Shaman. And some of these models are great. Like the Savage Orcs, I am so glad they kept those. Let me see if I can give you a close-up of those. There you go. The Savage Orcs are great. Absolutely great. Savage Orruks. Sorry. Okay. Get Mob Grops. Now, this is a little... and I'm glad they put them in here because a lot of people have these models, but the actual sculpts are pretty sad, if you ask me. Like these wolves have been around forever, and they're not overly inspiring. I mean, I was painting these up when BTP first started 12 years ago. But, you know, there's plenty of alternate sculpt things, and you can still find online, you can still find these guys, these, oh my gosh, it calls them grots now, but they were called night goblins, that's it. And they're actually maybe a kit of those. Now, these actually are really good sculpts, if you ask me. Mangler squigs, awesome. And by the way, there's at least one, possibly 2 or 3 companies that make good alternates for this, because I think these are pretty spendy. I think they're like $50 to $90 for those. But I mean, it is a great centerpiece model. So anyway, let's keep going through it. So now you've got like the spiders, the giants are in there, of course, no big surprises there. Hopefully I'm showing this to you, right? I think I drifted. Trolls, which are called Troggoths now. But ogres are in here. And I think they're called something else in here. I can't remember what it is. And they have, of course, the Noblars in there, and Mornfang Cavalry. Oh, but these guys, they split the old Ogre Kingdoms into a couple of factions, and one of them is the Beast Claw Raiders. And I think it's great because they're making them have a distinct feel. They've added a lot of really lavish art to them, and I think it's really cool. But a lot of the special characters are gone. As you know, I was never really a great fan of the special characters. I think you should make your own special characters. And there you go. And they give you the literally 4 pages of rules for this game in the back. That's it. Oh, and by the way, the first 2 pages are on how to set up and scenery. That's it. So 2 pages, that's the rules for this game. So you can grab a friend, you can learn it like just reading it, almost like a board. Board games have more rules than this. And you think, well, you know, is it good to have more rules? There's an appeal to that. But I always felt like when a new edition of Warhammer Fantasy came out, I felt like I was studying for finals. Like I was just sort of like pouring through. Like if they changed one sentence, that would change how the game worked. It's like you had to find that and like go online and read up. And it was just, after a while, because I think I started in 3rd or 4th edition of Warhammer Fantasy. I don't know what was going on in 98 or 97, 98. And I was just like, do I really need to read all of this again and learn it and keep it in your memory? And that's what happens when you have a couple of players, maybe one of them's been out of it a couple of years, like, oh yeah, I'm going to bring over my What's It army. And it's like, what is... And it's like you start playing, you start kind of falling back because your memory, your brain has to like hold all of this. And to me, that's an investment of a game. So like, let's say you had a robot brain and you could just download, you know, 500 megs of rules and access it instantly and delete off the old stuff. Great. But to get into, that's why it's hard for these new games to break in, because they have to get into the human brain. And there's an investment, there's a brain investment to playing these games. And quite frankly, I'm looking at Age of Sigmar and I'm like, what are they even going to do with the 2 pages? I don't think they're going to change it a lot. And even if they did, and they still made it to, you know, 4 pages total, great. That I can handle. And so I think it's pretty clever. All right, guys, that's what I have. I know Age of Sigmar isn't going to get a lot of views at this point in time, but just you wait. And quite frankly, I'm looking at all the different armies, and as you guys know, I'm a bit of a Forces of Order guy and love my Eldar and Elfie stuff. In fact, let me finish the thought. That's my new thing. I'm finishing my thoughts. But the Orruks are really appealing to me, and I think it'd be a pretty easy army to get into. You need maybe at minimum 5 box sets. I think that's where I'm going to start, and just get somebody to play a game or 2. In fact, way back when I was playing elves. My first fantasy army was high elves, and then wood elves, and then dark elves. I just love. And in fact, that goes all the way back to middle school when the cartoon, the comic book Elf Quest. Anybody remember that? Yeah, loved that. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I've got a crew of 8 to 10 great artists. We're ready to roll. Things are still running very smoothly and efficiently at BTP. Should be in the new studio sometime near the end of this month. I'm not forcing it. It'd be easy. I've done it before. Easy as pie. Just go out, find a place, and just go. But I don't want to do the same thing over again. I have this idea in my mind, and I'm holding on for that idea. And boy, you are just gonna. It's gonna be great when you see it unfold. It's gonna be a new chapter. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.